Chapter 41. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When the ball flew out of the baseline, Sevilla finally breathed a sigh of relief. Villarreal's attack just now was too sudden, facing such a ball. Fortunately, it was kicked away in the end. As long as it hits within the goal range, it is almost a sure goal. Therefore, Sevilla's goalkeeper was very dissatisfied. He shouted loudly at his defender. "What the hell are you doing? Cheer up." Soon, Sevilla kicked the goal kick. Then, the two sides started fighting in the midfield. At this time, the head coaches of both sides basically understood each other's plan. Carlos is naturally quite familiar with Sevilla, and Sevilla. It was a bit unexpected that Carlos would choose to attack against himself, but he looked at the field with disdain, just relying on this bunch of scumbags from Villarreal. Or do you think you can do it after introducing a kid from a football desert? For a long time, Sevilla has always insisted on offensive football. The overall style is more inclined to the technical Barcelona. The ability to cooperate and break through in a small range is the biggest asset of Sevilla in the Europa League in recent years. On the other hand, in the past 2 years, Sevilla's defensive counterattack is also quite powerful. When I think of this, Sevilla's head coach really wants to ask Carlos. Why do you want to attack me? With the passage of time, the technical advantages of Sevilla players are gradually reflected. Because of Li Chu, Sevilla slowly began to gain the upper hand in the midfield fight. For this situation, Carlos is naturally a little helpless. There is no way, although Li Chu can provide a lot of help to the team on the offensive end. However, on the defensive end, Li Chu is not effective at the moment. Regarding this point, Carlos secretly made up his mind. In the future, he will ask the coaching staff to give Li Chu targeted defensive training. Now it is so difficult just to play against Sevilla. What will happen when facing Barcelona and Real Madrid in the future? Because the defensive ability is really scum, so, Sevilla quickly regarded Li Chu as a breakthrough point. As long as they break through Li Chu, then they can directly face Villarreal's defense line. Therefore, during this period of time, Li Chu has become the busiest and most embarrassed person. In the 24th minute, when Sevilla opened a gap from Li Chu again, several players in the frontcourt quickly rushed towards Villarreal's defense line with the football. After Oscar got the football, he moved forward at high speed. Fernandez and Vázquez both rushed into Villarreal's penalty area. When the ball came to the top of Villarreal's penalty area, Oscar passed the ball directly from the crowd into Villarreal's penalty area. Fernandez, who had been waiting for a long time, successfully countered the offside at the first time. Then he got the ball, facing the attacking Villarreal goalkeeper. He pushed the ball into Villarreal's goal again with a light kick, 2-0. When the ball went in, the entire Ceramic Stadium was quiet for a moment, although some fans had thought of this result before the game. When it really happened, Villarreal's fans still couldn't accept it. At the same time, in the live broadcast room of Yen Country CTV5, after seeing this goal, many fans couldn't help it. What's the use of this Li Chu? He is a big sieve. Sevilla specifically chose him to attack. How can you praise him? This level of defense has directly become the opponent's breakthrough point. Does this kid have a mind at home? With this level, the team can still arrange him to start when facing Sevilla. I have said it long ago, Yen people are not good at playing football. You still have to praise a person who uses the back door. Now I ask you, is it embarrassing? During this period of time, Sevilla has always focused on Li Chu. So, when this goal appeared, everyone could see it. This goal has a lot to do with Li Chu. For a while, the fans who supported Li Chu before didn't know what to say. The game continued. However, what surprised everyone was that Carlos made a substitution at this time. Villarreal replaced a midfielder with a defender. What's going on? Why don't you replace Li Chu? Li Chu must have helped this head coach block bullets, otherwise he wouldn't be on the court now. How much money did this guy donate to Villarreal? Too awesome. At the same time, even the two commentators of Sky Sports didn't understand. Clark looked at the situation on the court and was a little uneasy. Is Carlos crazy? Shouldn't he replace his own loophole, Li Chu, at this time? What is he thinking? Maybe Carlos thinks that there are other uses for Li Chu to stay on the court. That he glanced at his partner. Ralph didn't know what to say at this time. He had the same idea as Clark. Li Chu had obviously become Villarreal's weakness. The most important thing to do at this time was to withdraw Li Chu to make up for the defense. Soon, the game continued. At this time, Carlos was also staring at the court nervously. After the substitution, obviously, the five-defender tactic directly made Villarreal's defensive strength in the midfield and backcourt a level higher, but, in this way, at most it can only maintain the situation. Li, don't let me down. At this time, the team's offense can only rely on you. And with Carlos's change of formation, Villarreal's offense finally improved. When Li Chu no longer ran back and forth for defense, his talent in offense slowly began to show. 27th minute, after Villarreal intercepted Sevilla's ball in their backcourt, after the cooperation of several teammates, soon the ball came to Li Chu's feet. After a brief observation of the situation in the frontcourt, Li Chu chose to advance with the ball, however. Just after arriving at Sevilla's half, Li Chu was stopped by De Jong. As a result, facing this future Barcelona player, Li Chu did not have any timidity, and used the center of gravity of his body to directly shake off his defense. Chapter 42. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Facing De Jong, Li Chu's eyes were full of anger. In the past period of time, he had been suppressed by Sevilla. Li Chu, whose defense value was less than 60, naturally, he could not withstand Sevilla's bombardment. In the end, the second goal was lost. As the person involved, Li Chu naturally felt it more deeply than others. Fortunately, Carlos made adjustments in time. From the original 442 to 532, after giving up the entanglement with Sevilla in the midfield, another defensive player was added behind Li Chu, although this made him passive in the midfield. However, because there was one more defensive player in the backcourt, Villarreal's defense was finally stabilized. Looking at De Jong in front of him, this is another tulip after the four little swans called by the Dutch. Li Chu, who got rid of the defensive burden, decided to start from here, facing De Jong who came forward to block. Li Chu slightly slowed down the speed of dribbling, when he came into contact with De Jong. Li Chu began to move like a butterfly. The high-speed footwork quickly threw De Jong's center of gravity to one side. Looking at the gap left by De Jong, Li Chu did not hesitate at all and flew past De Jong from the other side with the football. Then, before De Rossi had time to fill the position, he moved forward at high speed, came to the top of the arc of Sevilla's penalty area. When the Sevilla defender came forward, Li Chu keenly grasped the gap left behind him after he came forward. With a light poke of the toes, the football went directly between the legs of the Sevilla defender, and Uche, who had been waiting on the side, started to move at the same time as Li Chu kicked. He got the football before the Sevilla goalkeeper attacked. Then, facing the goalkeeper, a powerful volley about 5 meters away from the goal, the football went straight to the lower left corner of the goal. 1:2. Villarreal successfully scored a goal. When Li Chu received the ball near the center circle and faced De Jong, the two commentators of Sky Sports were directly attracted by Li Chu, the two people who were just complaining about why Carlos did not replace Li Chu. When Li Chu was dribbling forward, they all stared at him. Oh. Look at this ball. Beautiful. Li Chu's footwork is so skillful. This kind of flower-inserting foot directly panicked De Jong. Clark began to praise at this time. Very fast. After Li Chu broke through De Jong, he directly increased his speed. Oh. De Rossi, there was no time to make up for the defense, and De Jong behind him couldn't catch up with Li Chu. 2 alone. Just now there was a chance to pass to Dos Santos not far away, but now all angles are blocked, and Li Chu is surrounded by 4 Sevilla defenders. Oh my God! Incredible! The football rushed out of the small door. Uche is alone. Goal. After Uche scored, Ralph couldn't help it. The goal just now, from Li Chu taking the ball near the center circle, to Uche scoring the goal, the whole project took only about 10 seconds, if it weren't for the fact that there were too few Villarreal players receiving the ball in the frontcourt. Li Chu had to run with the football for a long time. The speed of this ball would have been faster. Just now I was wondering why Carlos left Li's defensive loophole, but I didn't expect that Li Chu gave us the answer so quickly. Although this goal was scored by Uche. However, Li Chu had 80% of the credit. Okay. I take back what I said just now. Now I finally understand Li's role on the court. That I have to say, it was just this one goal. As a result, Li Chu directly conquered these 2 gold medal commentators, and here at CTV5, when Uche scored, Wei jumped up directly. This ball. This ball. Li Chu played a particularly important role in it, started from receiving the ball in the center circle. Dribbling the ball and breaking through, arrived near the top of the penalty area, directly attracted the defense of 4 Sevilla players. Finally, this fatal blow came out from the gap in the crowd. At that time, Wei couldn't help but start shouting. At the same time, in the live broadcast room, the fans who had supported Li Chu finally breathed a sigh of relief at this time. This is Li Chu. His offensive ability is definitely a genius. Hats, take a good look at it yourself. What else do you have to say about this goal just now? Li Chu. Li Chu is awesome. Of course, although Li Chu's performance in this goal just now was impeccable, but the haters are still struggling. I don't care. Anyway, this goal was not scored by Li Chu. No matter how much you say, Li Chu is still Villarreal's big sieve. Isn't it just an assist? What's the fuss? Until now, because of Li Chu, Huang Qian is still behind. Seeing that the haters are still stubborn at this time, Li Chu's supporters finally couldn't sit still this time, started a counterattack. On the court, when this ball was scored, Duce came to Li Chu in front of him immediately. Li. Good job, that's it. Don't mind the previous goal, the team needs your offensive talent. That's right, Li. Leave the defense to us, and the offense to you. That the teammates who followed up also comforted Li Chu at this time. Everyone knows, this game is only Li Chu's second official game. Just before Li Chu broke out, everyone thought that Li Chu was targeted by Sevilla as a weakness, which made him lose confidence. Fortunately, Li Chu is Li Chu, now it seems that he has not been affected at all. The game continues. Sevilla started the kickoff in the center circle, facing the previous goal. The players of Sevilla did not care. It can only be said that before the goal was lost, they were careless, because during that period, they were pressing Villarreal. It was just a counterattack by the opponent. This is all normal operation. On the sidelines, Carlos was very excited at this time. That's it, just play like this. Seeing that Li Chu was still so powerful on the offensive end, he believed, in this game, Villarreal still had a good chance. He secretly glanced at the Sevilla coach not far away. Carlos found that the other side had no special instructions. Seeing this, Carlos was even happier. It's better that you guys always do this, continue to underestimate Li Chu. He. Carlos, at this time, was secretly happy. Chapter 43. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the following time, with Sevilla's conscious counterattack against Villarreal, as a result, Villarreal's attack was not very threatening, in this regard, and Villarreal here, because of the 5 defenders, so for a while, Sevilla didn't have a good solution. Just like that, the first half was over. In the locker room, Carlos was still making tactical arrangements with the players at this time. In the second half, we still maintain the current formation. While consolidating our defense, after getting the ball, look for Li as soon as possible. Li, the team's offense is all up to you. Is it okay? Don't worry, boss. Sevilla's defense is not that good. Ha ha ha. As long as you have confidence. Then, Carlos made arrangements with several defenders again for Sevilla's offensive players. Dear audience, the second half of the game has begun. I'm Clark. Hello everyone, I'm Ralph. At the beginning of the second half, there were no personnel changes on both sides. It seems that the head coaches of both teams are still quite satisfied with the current situation on the field. That's true. But I believe the score won't stay like this. Oh. Why? Because I believe that Villarreal will definitely try their best to equalize the score. That's true, especially since Villarreal still keeps Li on the field, and they definitely hope that Li can continue to exert his strength on the offensive end. At this time, the two brothers Clark and Ralph completely changed their views on Li Chu. So what if the defense is poor? The La Liga games are more inclined to attack, and what Li Chu showed in the goal just now, it made both of them feel that Li Chu would not remain silent. On the field, both sides are still fighting fiercely, but, because Sevilla has one more player in the midfield, so in the midfield scramble, Villarreal has been at a disadvantage. The most direct impact is, now the ball possession time of both sides on the field has slowly widened the gap. Villarreal 38, Sevilla 62, the ball possession has exceeded 46 points, which is enough to show that Sevilla has the initiative on the field at this time. The 63rd minute of the game, Sevilla, Oscar easily broke through Li Chu's defense and came to the back half of Villarreal with the ball. Facing Jokic's defense, Oscar immediately handed the ball to De Jong not far away, and De Jong, under the interference of Jonathan, used an imaginative over-the-top pass to send the ball into Villarreal's penalty area. Facing the incoming ball, Fernandez volleyed without waiting for the ball to land. 3-1. After seeing the ball go in, De Jong retreated and raised his hand provocatively at Li Chu, who was watching, seeing Sevilla score again. At this time, in the live broadcast room of CTV5, the haters finally got excited again. Look, this ball started from Li Chu again. That's it. Get lost. Li Chu is still near the center circle. What does it have to do with Li Chu? Why is it irrelevant? The midfield where Li Chu is almost defenseless, allowing Oscar to pass so easily. Li Chu has to take the blame for this ball. Just luck just now. Now Li Chu lost the ball again. Filial sons, what do you say? In an instant, the haters got the motivation to blacken again. On the field, when Sevilla scored again, the morale of Villarreal was inevitably affected. Even Carlos on the sidelines was a little discouraged. He stood listlessly on the sidelines. Seeing this, Li Chu was naturally unwilling. While waiting for the kickoff, he pulled Uche beside him. Remember the goal you scored in the last game? Looking at Li Chu's firm expression, Uche also understood. Then, Uche excitedly prepared. The little moves of Li Chu and Uche were naturally missed by the Sevilla players who were walking towards their own half. Beep. The referee blew the whistle. Villarreal kicked the ball out immediately, and Uche sprinted towards Sevilla's half immediately, but for Uche's actions, all Sevilla players, the players of Villarreal, just didn't care. Crazy, you are still so energetic at this time. Isn't it better to save your energy for defense? On the other side, when Villarreal kicked the ball, after a simple back pass, the ball quickly returned to the center circle again. After Pina received the ball near the center circle, he immediately passed it to Li Chu, who had already arrived at the Sevilla half. When Li Chu received the ball, he suddenly started to accelerate with the ball. Facing Li Chu's sudden acceleration, the players of Sevilla were not prepared at this time. When Li Chu came to the penalty area with the ball, the defenders of Sevilla began to intercept. After looking at the positions of the defensive players in front of him, and the positions of Uche and Dos Santos, Li Chu did not slow down. He continued to rush towards the defender of Sevilla with the ball. When the two were about to touch, Li Chu skillfully performed a Marseille turn and passed the defender in front of him. Then, he cut inside from the right side of the penalty area. At this moment, the other defensive players of Sevilla finally began to get nervous, including the goalkeeper. They were all staring at Li Chu nervously at this time, looking at the defender who was successfully attracted by him. Li Chu made a fake shot and a real pass before the two defenders of Sevilla double-teamed him. When several defensive players of Sevilla realized that they were fooled, Uche had appeared on the passing route without knowing when, facing the incoming ball. Uche aimed at the lower left corner of the goal and shot. 2:3. Less than a minute after Sevilla scored, under Li Chu's planning, Villarreal scored again. Goal. After the ball went in, this time Ralph started a volcanic eruption. The excited roar spread throughout the stadium from the on-site broadcast, and now the fans, because of Ralph's shout, began to celebrate excitedly. Uche scored twice. And Li Chu has also completed 2 assists. This time, the game is more exciting. I believe Villarreal will not give up like this. Both sides will continue to attack in the remaining time. At this time, Clark also shouted excitedly. Chapter 44. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this time, Clark and Ralph were almost unable to sit still. The two people who were originally quite dissatisfied with missing the game between Atletico Madrid and Barcelona, at this time, they had already thrown away their previous emotions to who knows where. This game, although it was not as star-studded as the new camp, but, so far, the goal battle between the two sides made the two people fascinated. If you add the joy of discovering a superstar like Li Chu, both of them thought that after the game, they should thank the leaders of the Football Association who arranged for them to comment on this game. It was enjoyable to watch, and the commentary was also quite enjoyable. Yenghua, in the CTV5 live broadcast room, when this goal appeared, the whole live broadcast room was boiling. Just now, Li Chu used the lightning war that Sevilla is best at, and within less than 1 minute after Sevilla had just expanded the score, once again helped the team to close the score, especially in the goal just now. Li Chu was near the midfield, he completed an almost one-stop breakthrough, finally, when facing the blocking of the opponent's goalkeeper and defenders. Li Chu's last fake shot was a real pass, not to mention that the Sevilla goalkeeper fell to the ground. The defender next to him even made a flying tackle to block the eye-catching goal. It was precisely for this reason, so after Uche received the ball, he faced an empty goal. It can be said, this ball was almost Li Chu feeding the cake directly into Uche's stomach. Even if someone else came, as long as it was not Sterling, he could kick it in. If it was Sterling, if this gentleman is not happy, he might even vomit this cake after gastric lavage. After the goal, all Sevilla players stared blankly at Li Chu and Uche, who were hugging each other. The goal just now, it is definitely the most typical lightning goal of Sevilla. It's just, in the past, I always looked at the frustrated faces of my opponents, but now, the players of Sevilla finally experienced the feeling of being hit by lightning, very unhappy, but more frustrated. For a while, the mentality of the players of Sevilla began to change. Regarding Villarreal's tenacious style of play, a question appeared in the minds of the players of Sevilla: the opponent is like an indestructible cockroach. Such an opponent, this game, can we still win? On the sidelines, the head coach of Sevilla also frowned at this time. So far, the team is playing according to their own wishes, and the score is still in a leading position. As for the 2 goals lost by his team, in fact, he doesn't care much. The reason is very simple: one was scored by a defensive counterattack. This goal can only be said that his team pressed too far forward and was careless, and the second goal. Damn it! You can't afford to play, you are plagiarizing. Little trash. These 2 goals, you really can't blame your own players. So, after thinking for a while, he didn't give any instructions to the players on the field. It was the negligence of the head coach. In the end, this game still saw changes that surprised everyone. Morale, this thing is invisible and intangible. It's a very mysterious thing to say, so. Neither the coach nor the assistant coach of Sevilla noticed the change in the morale of the players, but morale is something that really exists. At least, after this ball was scored, the players of Sevilla gradually lost their spirit on the field, slowly, although Villarreal had one less midfielder. But, they finally stabilized in the midfield. It was no longer easy to be penetrated by Sevilla. At this time, the morale of the Villarreal players was high. The team showed a very strong defense in the midfield. For a while, the referee's whistle sounded frequently. For Villarreal, who made excessive moves, they had to give a warning. During this period, the referee became the busiest person on the field. When the game time came to the 77th minute, the score on the field changed again. During this period, although Sevilla had already targeted Li Chu enough, but facing the morale-boosting Villarreal, all Sevilla players felt quite awkward. Midfield, after de Guzman received the pass from Li Chu about 35 meters away from the goal. He decisively made a powerful shot. Unfortunately, the angle was too straight, and the goalkeeper of Sevilla finally rubbed the ball out of the bottom line with his fingertips. Corner kick. Li Chu standing in the corner kick area, observing the situation in the penalty area. However, looking at the crowd in the penalty area, Li Chu finally gave up the idea of passing the ball in. After raising 3 fingers to his teammates, Li Chu signaled the linesman to be ready. At this time, the players of Villarreal were confused. What the hell is that? What the hell is that gesture of Li just now? At the same time, the players of Sevilla who saw Li Chu's gesture clearly were even more nervous at this time. Result, Li Chu kicked the ball directly to the top of the penalty area. Players from both sides were crowded near the small penalty area, so, at this time, except for de Guzman of Villarreal, there was no other person in the penalty area. Facing such a good opportunity, de Guzman would naturally not miss it. Facing the falling ball, the same volley shot directly hit the goal of Sevilla, and the ball was flying in the air. It hit de Jong's body and changed direction. Finally, in the desperate eyes of the Sevilla goalkeeper, it rushed into the goal. 3:3. De Guzman, after scoring, he rushed to Li Chu like crazy. He picked up the black-haired boy, then he carried Li Chu to celebrate. The other players of Villarreal also gathered around at this time. Everyone excitedly surrounded Li Chu. When Li Chu landed on the ground, almost everyone touched Li Chu's head at the same Time. This ball, it was so beautiful. It was so inspiring. CTV5's live broadcast room, when this ball was scored, the whole live broadcast room was boiling, even those haters, at this time, they didn't know what to say. This ball, before the corner kick, it was still Li Chu's breakthrough that gave de Guzman the opportunity to kick in front of the penalty area, and the subsequent corner kick, it came to de Guzman more accurately. 3 goals, each goal was planned by Li Chu himself. For a while, the haters didn't know what else to say, when the score on the field was finally tied, all Villarreal players could no longer hide their excitement. The opponent is Sevilla. But he has been the victim of our team in recent years. And now, no matter how many goals the opponent scores, we have Li Chu. Recalling what Li Chu said before the game, he is the nemesis of Sevilla. At this time, everyone is convinced of this. For a while, everyone has sufficient confidence to win this game. On the other side, on the Sevilla side, at this time, no one can accept the result in front of them, leading by 2 goals. The result is now tied at 3-3. No matter how hard you try, you will eventually be caught up by the opponent. At this time, almost everyone has no confidence in the game. The opponent Villarreal is invincible. When Sevilla kicked off again, obviously, the players of Sevilla no longer have any desire to attack this time. The football started to pass back and forth in Sevilla's half. All the players were very confused. Now attacking is not enough to win the game. Instead of this, we should do a good job of defense in the last minute of the game. At least, we can't lose the ball anymore. A few players who still have some fighting spirit, although they want to attack, but seeing that the opponent's morale is high at this time, they all chose to slow down the pace of the game first. Sevilla took the initiative to slow down the pace of the game. But, the players of Villarreal were not happy to see this. What do you think we are? You can attack if you want to, and you can delay time if you want to. So, there is no need for Carlos' instructions at all. The players of Villarreal started high-pressure pressing in Sevilla's half, although Villarreal's high-pressure pressing is not as oppressive as Atletico Madrid's, but, at this time, there is no spirit. Sevilla, looking at the aggressive Villarreal players, for a moment, they were all very panicked. It was a matter of time before they lost the ball. The 83rd minute of the game. After nearly 10 minutes of entanglement, Villarreal finally had another chance. Midfield, Sevilla's players just organized the ball to the vicinity of the center circle. As a result, Oscar's pass was a little weaker. De Jong, who was responding, had no time to get the ball. As a result, Li Chu predicted the route in advance and got the ball first. He didn't give De Jong, who was rushing over, any chance at all. Li Chu passed the ball directly to Uche, who was not far in front of him. Then, Uche passed the ball to Dos Santos on the left. Dos Santos, who received the ball, before the Sevilla defender came forward to press, he touched the ball again. The ball returned to Uche's feet in the middle. Uche did not stop at all. He chose to turn his back to the goal. He passed the ball back to Li Chu, who was striding forward. As a result, Li Chu faced the ball and adjusted his step slightly. He raised his right leg and hit the bottom of the ball hard. Bang! That the ball instantly flew towards the upper right corner of Sevilla's goal like a cannonball. This kick, but Li Chu had worked so hard for so long, and the result was that he had just improved his shooting skills. In the desperate eyes of the Sevilla goalkeeper, the ball hit the bottom edge of the crossbar and reflected into the goal, for 3. When Li Chu saw that the ball had entered the Sevilla goal, he ran like crazy. He opened his arms and ran excitedly in the stadium, and the other Villarreal players, at this time, each of them could not contain their excitement. Following Li Chu, he ran together. Finally, when Li Chu led everyone to the corner area, Li Chu threw his whole body out fiercely. He glided a long distance on the grass. Others behind him, after seeing Li Chu's actions, everyone followed Li Chu's example and made a human glider together. In an instant, there were 7 or 8 more traces on the grass. When seeing this scene, all the Villarreal fans in the stadium were also excited, while singing the team song loudly. At the same time, they also started to play human waves. For a while, the whole stadium was reverberating with the excited voices of Villarreal fans. This ball, it's in, it's in, it's in. When Li Chu's world wave shot into the goal, in the CTV5 live broadcast room, He shouted directly. Strong and powerful. The king of Chu should be like this. Seeing Li Chu's domineering goal, He instantly started the poet mode. At this time, only He knew, there were countless words of praise in his heart. but for Li Chu, He finally felt that the title of King of Chu was more appropriate, who invited the haters targeting Li Chu on the internet recently. As an insider, He naturally knew it very well, however. Because of his identity, he couldn't stand up to say anything for Li Chu. He just hoped that Li Chu, who was far away in Spain, would not be affected by the domestic environment. In Hiwei's eyes, isn't Li Chu just like the King of Chu? Before this game, he was facing enemies from all sides. Fortunately, after this ball was scored, Hiwei finally felt the sourness of raising his eyebrows. No matter how much you belittle, facing absolute strength, it is useless. And Hiwei's guess was correct. When the ball was scored, the fans in Yen country were naturally excited. At this time, even some senior haters dared not speak after facing Li Chu's performance. After all, everyone is not stupid. If you still want to blacken it at this time, not to mention the poor effect, maybe it will make people disgusted. If you make things worse, you will face the anger of hundreds of millions of netizens. This is not something they can bear, so, these haters consciously acted like turtles at this time. On the scene, when Li Chu scored the ball, Clark's roar was heard again in the live broadcast. Two brothers can become the official gold medal commentator of La Liga. This 30-second roar alone is a sign. Now after seeing Li Chu's goal, their faces flushed with excitement. This ball, so beautiful. Li Chu. Li Chu. This ball will definitely be the best goal of this round of the league. Absolutely. Chapter 45. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After this goal was scored, Sevilla's morale was completely destroyed. At this time, such an exaggerated goal was scored by the opponent. All Sevilla players began to doubt their lives at this time. Sometimes it is like this, when morale is there, no matter what situation is faced, it is very common to see a famous scene of a comeback. However, if morale is completely gone, the scene can only be described as a disaster. The most typical example is the World Cup semi-final, Brazil versus Germany. When the Brazilian team's opening three axes were used up and could not gain any advantage, facing the German team's counterattack, the Brazilian team had some defense at the beginning. After the third goal was scored, the team's morale was so low that it was ridiculous. In front of the hometown elders, the ball was directly intercepted by the German team in their backcourt. Then the three German players cooperated with each other and broke through the Brazilian team's goal again. And then on the scene, basically, the German team was suppressing Brazil. This was the most obvious match after the morale collapse, and now, Sevilla's state was almost the same as Brazil at that time. On the contrary, Villarreal was even more brutal than the German team at that time. The main reason was that Villarreal wanted revenge. There was no way, in the past few years, they were really bullied by Sevilla. Now they finally got the chance to beat the fallen dog. At this time, the players of Villarreal would naturally not miss such a good opportunity. So, a scene that made all Sevilla fans collapse appeared on the field. The game turned directly into a half-court attack and defense drill. Sevilla was blocked in its own half and couldn't get out at all. It was also impossible to organize an effective counterattack. It could only passively follow Villarreal's attack to defend, and Villarreal here, facing Sevilla's defensive retreat. If it was a normal situation, it would be fine to attack a few times and watch the opponent park the bus. As a result, because of the new and old hatreds, everyone played particularly fiercely at this time. Facing the opponent's bus, everyone ran without sparing their energy. As long as the ball does not go out of bounds, no matter whether Sevilla can intercept it, the second landing point will always be at Villarreal's feet. However, breaking through dense defense is a problem that all strong teams in the world have to worry about. As for Villarreal, now it does not have the strength of Barcelona. It can pass the ball into the opponent's goal with a pass. As for Li Chu, although Li Chu's current passing ability is not low, but if you want to play the effect of Barcelona, with Li Chu's current ability, it is still impossible. Finally, when the game time came to the 92nd minute, the referee on duty finally blew the whistle to end the game. When the final whistle was heard, several Sevilla players on the field lay directly on the grass. The 10 minutes or so just now, it can be said to be a nightmare for all Sevilla players. Even many people think, if it continues like this for a while, it won't take more, it will only take 5 minutes. The Sevilla players all felt that they could not hold on. After a short rest, all Sevilla players lowered their heads and hurried back to the locker room. This stadium, now it has become a nightmare for Sevilla players. one more look will make them feel uncomfortable, and here in Villarreal, the joy of winning. And finally defeating the victim for many years, plus the last 10 minutes directly pressed the victim to the ground. At this time, everyone felt that they had endless energy. At Carlos's signal, the whole team finally came to the stadium together to thank the fans on the scene. And the fans naturally did not hesitate to applaud. Wherever the players went, there would be the warmest applause. And Li Chu, as the best player of the game, he was pulled over by the reporters on the scene for an interview. Li. First of all, congratulations on your victory. As the best player of the game, do you have anything to say? Looking at the blonde beauty next to him, Li Chu was naturally in a very good mood at this time. Thank you. It was a bit surprising that he was named the best player. Because I think the victory of this game is the result of the efforts of the whole team. I just want to say that it is wonderful to have such teammates. After that, Li Chu no longer paid attention to the reporter, joined the interaction between teammates and fans, and when the fans of Villarreal saw the hero of the victory, they naturally burst into warm applause again. Even some bold female fans take off their underwear and throw it to the players. Soon, the result of the match between Villarreal and Sevilla was spread. For the result of this game, some people were shocked. No one expected that the two teams would actually play a goal scoring battle, and the imagined Sevilla's easy victory did not happen. On the contrary, Villarreal, who had been bullied by Sevilla for so long, actually had the last laugh. Of course, what excited the media the most was this game. Li Chu scored all the goals for Villarreal with 3 assists and 1 goal. Following the last game against Cadiz, Li Chu once again had a brilliant performance. For a while, the media began to praise Li Chu's performance. Genius will be welcomed everywhere. Especially many reporters who knew that there was still an entanglement between Li Chu and Real Madrid. They directly grasped this point. They began to exaggerate the reports between the two. Unfortunately, after Real Madrid won the first round, this round of the league was almost overturned, although they finally reversed Real Betis 2-1 away, but this game Real Madrid played very hard in the match. It was not until the 73rd minute of the match, Real Madrid scored a free kick through Ronaldo's personal ability, and in the 91st minute of the match, Ramos scored a header. Only then did they get 3 points away from home with difficulty. For this result, especially when Real Madrid's midfield performance was ugly, Li Chu's highlight performance in these two games, naturally, reporters have too much to write about. For a while, Li Chu became popular in Spain. Chapter 46. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The day after the game, Carlos gave the whole team a day off, and Li Chu, after the game with Sevilla, also had a better understanding of his own shortcomings. The first is defense. In this game, at the beginning, Sevilla seized the weakest point of Li Chu's defense and launched an attack directly. Strictly speaking, Li Chu is responsible for all 3 goals of Sevilla, in addition to defense. Li Chu also felt his own shortcomings in the last period of the game, that is, when facing dense defense. Li Chu did not have many good ways to deal with it, so the team was in the last 10 minutes, although they were pressing Sevilla on the field, but, facing the bus, in the end, there was no effective way to score. Parking the bus, this is a tactic often encountered in professional football, so, Li Chu was also very anxious. This kind of scene is definitely not uncommon, but, what should I do to deal with it? I really can't think of any good way. In the end, Li Chu chose a stupid way, that is, training. That's right. Train more diligently and accumulate more attribute points. At least after the attribute is improved, I will have more capital to face difficulties, right? When Li Chu contacted Li Chu and found that no one answered the phone, he knew that Li Chu didn't rest at all at this time and must have gone to training again. Li Chu had already recognized Li Chu's diligence, but training normally the day after the game ended still surprised Li Chu, and this time. Li, your diligence is really admirable. However, proper rest can better devote yourself to training. Looking at Li Chu, who was soaked with sweat, Li Chu was speechless. This kid, he really doesn't care about his life when training. Is it really the saying, as long as you don't die from training, you should train to death? Sign a contract. What contract? When Li Chu heard what Vallejo said, he was completely confused. What the hell, didn't he just sign a contract with Villarreal? Why did he have to sign another contract after just 2 games? Ha ha ha. Dear Li, This time it's a sponsorship contract. After Vallejo finished explaining, Li Chu finally understood. So, recently, as I have been performing better and better, Pepsi directly contacted Vallejo. Of course, for this commercial cooperation, Pepsi only signed the Greater China endorsement, not the global endorsement. After all, Li Chu is still an 18-year-old young player. And he has just emerged in the entire Europa. In Europe, Li Chu's popularity is not enough for Pepsi to give Li Chu a global endorsement contract, but, after market research, Pepsi-Cola is quite appreciative of Li Chu's popularity and fame in yen country. Moreover, the endorsement fee given by Pepsi-Cola is quite generous. The contract is only for 1 year, but the endorsement fee is as high as 1.2 million euros. This price is not something that an 18-year-old player can easily get, however. After listening to the conditions of Pepsi-Cola, Li Chu quickly lost interest. How to say this? First, it is just a spokesperson contract in Greater China, which is not very attractive to Li Chu. On the one hand, it is because Li Chu feels that he will fight in Europe now, and the endorsement in Greater China is not attractive to him. On the other hand, Li Chu also knows, recently, in yen country, there are countless water armies on the internet who are leading their own rhythm. If you still go for endorsement at this time, Li Chu is really worried that someone with ulterior motives will say something. What Li Chu doesn't know is, after the match with Sevilla, all the slanders against Li Chu by the water army have been broken by Li Chu's fans. Yes, it's Li Chu's fans. When the match was over, some fans had already formed a small group called Chu Army on the forum. This name, naturally, it was inspired by Hui's Chu Ba Wang. So, you want to wait a little longer? But when I heard that Li Chu refused the endorsement of Pepsi-Cola, Vallejo was still a little surprised. This kid? Is he so confident? Vallejo naturally understood what Li Chu meant. If he signed the contract now, it would be too disadvantageous for Li Chu. After half a season, Li Chu would use his performance to make those manufacturers come to him with big contracts. Okay, Vallejo admitted that he was finally moved by the pie that Li Chu painted, but it is true, even now. Pepsi-Cola only planned to sign Li Chu because of his identity as a yen countryman and his recent popularity, but this is not a long-term solution. Okay then. You play football with peace of mind, and leave everything else to me. On the other side, yen country, with the end of the second round of La Liga, the evaluation of Li Chu in yen country has finally become normal. Those fake fans who followed the black fans to black Li Chu before, when he learned that Li Chu scored all 4 goals against Sevilla, he instantly became a fence-sitter and became a fan of Li Chu. Hui's nickname Chu Ba Wang was also talked about by all the fans. Li Chu just like this, without him knowing. Li Chu had his own nickname in yen state, and it was quite domineering. Of course. Things are not over yet. How happy it was to smear Li Chu before. At this time, how miserable the backlash was. First of all, how did Li Chu appear? The powerful fans naturally dug it out quickly. Even the few people who went to Real Madrid youth training with Li Chu for exchange and study were exposed by netizens. Young players are just tools for officials to make profits, and going to Real Madrid to study is a joke. Contract is like a contract of sale, youth training is just a means of making money. The future of yen state football is dead, very soon. The details of Li Chu and his group's exchange and study at Real Madrid were exposed by all netizens. Even the specific details about the liquidated damages for the young players were presented to the eyes of the majority of netizens. Faced with such an unreasonable contract that was like a contract of selling one's body, all netizens immediately rushed to the official website of the Football Association. Fuck Football Association. The national football team was ruined by you. Amateurs lead professionals. How dare you sit in this position. Football is not a tool for some people to make money, nor is it a place for you to gild yourself. For a while, the anti-gang storm in the football circle was once again launched in Yenghua. Chapter 47. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Villarreal completed a Jedi counterattack under the leadership of Li Chu, after completing a big reversal that was beyond everyone's expectations, now Li Chu has naturally received more attention. There is no need to say more about yen country, regarding the sudden rise of Li Chu, although all yen country fans still felt a little surprised. Yen country fans have few requirements. As long as this person is our yen country, if he can gain a foothold in the top 5 European leagues with the highest level of world football today, then all Yen country fans will be quite satisfied. So, in Yen country, topics about Li Chu have frequently appeared on the hot search list recently, and in the European continent, there are more reports about Li Chu. Once is often accidental, but if there are two highlights, people have to pay attention, especially Villarreal is not a strong team. The only transfer operation this season is to introduce a player like Li Chu. As a result, Li Chu, the only new player this season, led the players to 2 consecutive victories after the start of the league, 1 goal and 6 assists in 2 games. This data is not bad, considering that Li Chu is only 18 years old. Such a supernova is naturally curious by the media in the entire European continent. Villarreal Daily is the only local sports media in Villarreal, and the daily newspaper has long been the media mouthpiece of Villarreal club. Naturally, it has a natural advantage in the interview about Li Chu, at Carlos' request. Taking advantage of the holiday on the second day after the team defeated Sevilla, the daily newspaper directly interviewed Li Chu. After arriving at the dormitory of Villarreal club, Lucas, a reporter arranged by the daily newspaper for an interview, couldn't help frowning when he saw the shabby environment inside, although he knew that Villarreal club had been doing quite badly in recent years. The club's finances are indeed a bit tight. This can be seen from the recruitment work this season. If there is no money, how could it be possible to introduce only one player, and a young player from the youth training? Of course, now this young player from the youth training has brought a huge surprise to everyone. Dear Li, just treat me as if I don't exist. This time I came here, I still hope to record your daily life. The purpose is to hope that the supporters of the team want to see what the genius usually does. Lucas was still quite polite when facing Li Chu. Don't look at Li Chu now. There are still more or less shortcomings in the mouths of many media, but Li Chu is young. Don't expect Li Chu to stay in Villarreal when he becomes a superstar in the future, but, before going to the Giants, at least he needs to train for a few years. If such a super genius can stay in the team, then Villarreal's strength can also be greatly improved. It is said that Li Chu is only 18 years old now, so it is a conservative estimate. In the next 4 to 5 years, Li Chu may be able to stay in Villarreal to gain experience. When he thought of this, Lucas became more cautious when facing Li Chu. Are you sure you want to follow my usual activities? Of course. Please feel free, we are just simply recording it. Hearing Lucas say this, Li Chu walked out of the door with a football in his arms in front of Lucas. Lucas looked confused. Didn't you say to follow my daily routine? On my rest days, I usually spend this time on the training ground. After hearing Li Chu's words, Lucas's forehead was instantly full of black lines. Fortunately, he saw Li Chu winking at him mischievously, and Lucas realized that he was fooled. Scared me to death. Looking at Li Chu who sat back, Lucas was really a little scared just now. Actually, I'm serious. I usually go to train on my days off. If the boss hadn't told me to wait for you today, you would have had to go to the training ground to find me. Looking at Li Chu with a serious face, Lucas groaned again. Such a Li Chu, Lucas said that you kid doesn't play by the rules. Of course, in the subsequent interview, Li Chu was quite cooperative. After all, the Daily News is also the mouthpiece of its own team. Lucas's questions are almost all to show Li Chu's excellent side, so Li Chu was quite relaxed during the QA session. When the interview was over, when Lucas was about to leave the training base, he was still a little unwilling to give up. When he walked to the gate, he looked at the guard of the training base, Andres. Old Andres, did Li Chu also practice on his own during the break? Old Andres, who was over 60 years old, couldn't help laughing after hearing the question about the team's rising star. Of course. Li is definitely a hardworking kid. Not only does he practice on his own on rest days, but even on normal training days, he gets up at around 6 a.m. to practice for a while, and then practices with the team at 9 a.m. And when the training is over every day, Li continues to practice. Even for this time, Carlos and the team's doctors have talked to Li several times. You know, Li's hard training is still a big burden on his body at his age. It is precisely for this reason that Li's extra training has been reduced a lot now. To be honest, watching Li come to the training ground first and leave last every day. For such a hard-working person, any questioning of him is disrespectful to him. After getting an answer that surprised him, Lucas finally left with satisfaction. Of course, Lucas believed what old Andres said. This old man who has devoted his whole life to the team has a very high prestige among the fans of Libyan Real, and what makes people admire him most is his integrity. Therefore, old Andres said so. So Lucas naturally would not question anything, when the Libyan Real Daily reported about Li Chu. It really caused quite a sensation, for hardworking people, whether in Yen country or the West. Everyone admires him very much. Some doubts about Li Chu may still exist, but for Li Chu's diligence, no one will question it anymore, and Li Chu still maintains such self-discipline after becoming famous at a young age. Naturally, he also won everyone's favor. As soon as this article came out, the reports about slandering Li Chu disappeared directly. Chapter 48. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Villarreal defeated Sevilla, time came to September, and the whole month of September, for Villarreal, the schedule was quite friendly, because there were only 4 weekends in the whole month of September. That means there were only 4 rounds of the league. Villarreal's opponents in the whole month of September were not that strong, of course, in fact, the entire La Liga. Except for the 2 giants Real Madrid and Barcelona, there were actually no teams with outstanding strength. Sevilla, Athletic Bilbao, and Atletico Madrid were already quite strong opponents. Now that he had taken on the tough bone of Sevilla, Carlos finally felt a little more relaxed in the following period of time. September 6, Villarreal visited Valencia. Valencia used to be the same as Villarreal, at the beginning of the new millennium. It was also one of the main forces representing La Liga in the entire Europa. It's just a pity, small teams will have the sorrow of small clubs, when the gold-dollar football began to spread throughout the European continent. Small clubs inevitably began to decline. Compared with the big teams, small clubs eventually lost their previous competitiveness. Now, when the 2 old friends who fought side by side at the beginning of the new millennium met again, the final result was that Villarreal won the game 4 o'clock cleanly at Valencia's home court. During the game, Li Chu made 3 assists and 1 shot, completing a hat-trick of assists in a single game. Again, and Dos Santos finally enjoyed Li Chu's cake this time. When the game came to the 55th minute, Dos Santos had completed a hat-trick. When Dos Santos scored the 4th goal of the game, Carlos very rationally replaced Li Chu and Dos Santos. Stop while you are ahead. If these 2 people are still on the field, facing the Valencia fans who are now a little bit wanting to go crazy, if something unexpected happens in the end, it will be a loss. A week later, Villarreal came to the Real Mallorca club located on the outer island of Spain. Real Mallorca. This is a small team that struggles in the 2nd division like Villarreal before. Even in recent years, it can also rush into the 1st division, but in the eyes of well-known European bookmakers such as BW, Real Mallorca is still a popular team for relegation this season. It is conceivable. Real Mallorca is not very strong. When Libya Real came to the Iberian Star Stadium, even if it was an away game, but this game was indeed quite easy. Under Li Chu's connection, Uche and Dos Santos each scored a goal, and the team's captain Mario Gasper was a success. With Li Chu's assist, he completed a world wave, 3-0. Villarreal once again gained 3 points, and Li Chu also got 3 assists again. 4 games, 1 goal and 12 assists. Li Chu topped the La Liga assists list. Who is behind him? Messi 5 assists, Xavi 5 assists, Iniesta 4 assists, Di Maria 3 assists. Seeing this list, all the media who pay attention to La Liga are going crazy. Many media directly said that La Liga finally has a spoiler again this season. Regarding Villarreal's strength, no one is optimistic that they will win the championship, although Villarreal has now firmly occupied the top of the standings. 4 wins and 12 points. The 2nd place is Atletico Madrid, with 3 wins and 1 draw in 4 games, and 10 points. Following closely is Real Madrid, which also has 3 wins and 1 draw in 4 games, but is ranked behind Atletico Madrid because of the goal difference. The 4th place is Barcelona, which has won all 3 games and has 9 points. Barcelona, which has played 1 less game, has slowly moved up the list without anyone noticing. This situation, it also makes all the media feel. If you want to win the La Liga championship this year, you must at least overcome Villarreal. September 23, Villarreal finally returned to its home court, facing Celta, which came from afar. Villarreal defeated the enemy with a 5 o'clock victory at home. Dos Santos once again performed a hat-trick, and Uche also scored a goal. Villarreal's double guns have been hot in recent times. and Li Chu, who feeds the two forwards, finally got what he wanted, his second league goal, in the 23rd minute of the game, after Li Chu connected the midfield and frontcourt, at the top of the Celta penalty area. He met Uche's inverted triangle pass and successfully knocked on the opponent's door with a powerful shot. Li Chu. After the ball was scored, the DJ on the scene also shouted passionately, "Now Li Chu has already conquered every Villarreal fan. For all Villarreal fans, Li Chu is the best gift God has given to the team." The team has been in turmoil for several seasons. After welcoming Li Chu, finally, it has regained new vitality. So, when Li Chu scored, the entire Ceramic Stadium was boiling directly, under the leadership of the on-site DJ. The Ceramic Stadium, which can accommodate nearly 40,000 fans, issued a thunderous shout, and here in the South Stand, even the die-hard fans of Villarreal began to sing the song of Li Chu. "You are Li Chu, the hero of the Ceramic Stadium. When the team encounters difficulties, you will stand up at the first time. Let us shout the name of the hero. Li Chu. Li Chu. Li Chu." Although the lyrics are very simple, however, when the fans in the South Stand began to sing loudly, soon, the entire Ceramic Stadium was filled with song of Li Chu. In the cheers of Villarreal fans, in the end, the glory stayed in the Ceramic Stadium. The tears flowed to the opponent. On September 30, the Villarreal team welcomed the Basque team Real Sociedad. The Real Sociedad team, the strength can only be said to be average. More often, in the whole of Spain, almost everyone regards the Basque team as the talent training base of Athletic Bilbao. The Basque country has a population of more than 3 million and is one of the most economically developed regions in Spain. In this region, there is a giant club that has never been relegated in the past century, just like Real Madrid and Barcelona. Athletic Bilbao, Real Sociedad, which is also in the Basque country, has long been one of the bases for training young talents for Athletic Bilbao, because in the entire Basque country, almost all young players have a childhood dream of playing for Bilbao. So, facing such a weak club, Villarreal will naturally not miss the opportunity to grab points. In the end, under Li Chu's planning, Villarreal defeated the opponent 2-0 away. Uche scored 2 goals, and Li Chu also got an assist. Carlos finally left the Anoeta Stadium with the team with satisfaction. Chapter 49. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Villarreal defeated Real Sociedad, the entire September game means that all the games are over. Of course, this month, for the entire Villarreal team, it is like a dream, counting the 2 games in August. In the 6 games since the start of the league, Villarreal has won all of them. On the standings, Villarreal has 6 wins in 6 games and 18 points, ranking first in the standings. And Barcelona is right behind. It also started with 6 consecutive wins, but it is behind in goal difference. So it ranks behind Villarreal, and then there is Atletico Madrid, 6 games, 5 wins, 1 loss, 16 points. As for Real Madrid, it unexpectedly lost to Athletic Bilbao in the last game, 6 games, 4 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss, 13 points, and on the scorer list, Villarreal's 2 guns directly took the top 2 spots. Dos Santos topped the list with 11 goals, Uche followed closely with 10 goals. Messi and Suarez followed closely behind, and Real Madrid's group of superstars, it's unknown how far they were left behind. In fact, Real Madrid's problem, you can see the problem from various lists. Although Real Madrid won 5-1 in the first round of the league, however, in the subsequent games, they basically maintained a small score of 1-0 or 2-1, because Ancelotti has just taken over the team. Real Madrid is still in a transitional period. The running in of the lineup itself is still continuing. Especially the problem on the defensive end is still quite serious. The problem can be seen from the recent period of constant loss of balls. The defense of Pepe, Marcelo and Xabi Alonso can't support Ancelotti's 3-5-2 lineup at all. On the offensive end, at present, the only one who performs normally is Angel Di Maria. You can say that, in recent times, Real Madrid's offense relies on the Argentine wingers to carry the banner, and Ronaldo after losing the big Ido seal, because there is no one to feed the ball. The performance has not been satisfactory in recent times. In sharp contrast to Real Madrid, it is Villarreal. Since Li Chu arrived, the offense of the entire team has been directly improved by several levels. As a speed striker, Dos Santos has enjoyed the benefits brought by the master of feeding the ball in recent times, compared with a standing output striker like Uche, a speed striker like Dos Santos, after Li Chu's scalpel-like accurate pass feeding. I have been playing so comfortably in recent times, to use the words of Yen Guo fans, I only need to be responsible for running. As long as I can run out of space, Li Chu will definitely pass the ball to my feet. It is officially relying on Li Chu's threatening pass. It also made Dos Santos' current ranking on the scorer list. Of course, another striker in the team, Uche. There is no dissatisfaction with this. On the contrary, for Li Chu, Uche is more grateful. As a standing striker, his role is more to grab the ball in the opponent's penalty area and cooperate with Dos Santos to complete the changes in the offense. And with Li Chu, now it is completely different, although he can't get meat in the counterattack because of his slow speed, but, in the offensive battle, Li Chu can directly tear through the opponent's defense line by himself. Li Chu often makes a long pass of more than 30 meters while standing in the middle. After the football passes through the opponent's middle and multiple defenders, it lands accurately on the path he is moving forward. Then, facing the falling football, Uche either volleys it, or he jumps high and heads the ball. That's it. Now Uche is only one goal behind Dos Santos in the scorer list, and Carlos, don't mention how proud he has been recently, just named the best coach of the month by the La Liga official. Now the team's performance is unexpectedly good, and the one who brought all these changes, it is undoubtedly Li Chu. With Li Chu's presence, the team's offense is not a problem at all, whether it is the fatal pass in the defensive counterattack, or the penetrating pass in the positional battle. Let the current all teams in La Liga have a headache when facing Villarreal. After the 6th round of the league ended, Real Madrid is also busy now. For the current team's performance, Ancelotti is naturally Alexander. After all, he is coaching Real Madrid, not any other team, and in La Liga, the only team that can really become a competitor of Real Madrid is Barcelona. Oh, no. Now Simeone's Atletico is half, but, before playing against this half opponent, now Real Madrid is 5 points behind the top. Especially in the recent period, the team has not been fully integrated on the defensive end. The offensive end has also begun to fall apart. Therefore, recently, Ancelotti has been under a lot of pressure. As a result, when people are unlucky, drinking water will get stuck in their teeth. When Ancelotti is worried about the team, Marca actually made things difficult for its own coach at this time. Marca, as the media mouthpiece of Real Madrid for a long time, because it represents Real Madrid, so it is quite well known throughout Europe. This time, when the league started poorly, as a result, Marca did not even let its own coach go. Facing Ancelotti, Marca directly opened fire. Mr. Ancelotti, the team's performance has not been good in recent times. The defense line is reorganized, which is understandable, but on the offensive end, the team has faced rookie teams in the past 6 rounds of the league under the ownership of BBC, and has not scored more than 10 goals so far. What do you think about this? Although Ancelotti was very annoyed by Marca's aggressive attitude, but, facing his own mouthpiece media, he finally patiently explained. This Real Madrid is a brand new team, so we are still in the process of running in. The defense has been performing better and better recently. As for the offense, I believe that the team has the BBC combination, so offense is not a problem. It's just that the team's luck has been too bad recently, and many opportunities were rejected by the opponent's posts. But what everyone sees now is that without Ozil, Ronaldo and others are almost unable to score. Obviously, there is no suitable person in the midfield now who can create enough opportunities for BBC and others. Chapter 50. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Regarding Ancelotti's statement, the Marca reporter obviously disagrees. For the Marca reporters, for Ancelotti's arrival, they are not very optimistic, because compared with the predecessor Mourinho, there are too few topics about Ancelotti, the good guy. It's not like before. As long as Mourinho is still in the team, then Real Madrid will be the focus of the world. Come with emotions. When facing Ancelotti, the questions will naturally be more sharp, and Ancelotti, after hearing the Marca reporter's ruthless rebuttal of his words, his face darkened. Do you know more about football than me? Facing the suddenly angry Ancelotti, the Marca reporter did not react at the first time. Since you don't know football as well as I do, why are you telling me what to do? After saying this, Ancelotti left angrily, but, facing Ancelotti who left quickly, the reporter from Marca was still unwilling. "Mr. Ancelotti, you said before that there is no place for Li Chu in Real Madrid's first team. Now Li Chu has topped the assist list. What do you think of Li Chu?" While chasing Ancelotti, the reporter from Marca also shouted, hearing this question. Sure enough, Ancelotti stopped, turned around, looking at the reporter from Marca. Ancelotti spoke seriously, word by word. "Li Chu has performed very well recently, there is no doubt about that, but, I have said it before. Li Chu's ability is not enough to gain a foothold in Real Madrid's first team. I thought so before, and now, I still think so. But, among the midfielders of Real Madrid's first team, none has performed better than Li Chu so far." That result, Ancelotti no longer paid attention to the reporter, he left quickly, but, just returned to the office. Ancelotti's assistant notified him, the club's chairman and other senior executives are waiting for him to have a meeting. Meeting? As if thinking of something, Ancelotti's face became even uglier. In the meeting room, at this time, the senior executives of Real Madrid club are already in place. When Ancelotti arrived, the meeting officially began. The first person to speak was the club's sports director. So far this season, the team has 4 wins, 1 draw and 1 loss in 6 games on the standings, with 13 points. The current results are still quite in line with expectations at the beginning of the season. Here, on behalf of the club, I would like to thank Mr. Ancelotti. After hearing the words of the sports director Mr. Anelka, Ancelotti's face finally looked better. Originally, on the way here, he thought that today's meeting was the club starting to put pressure on him. At present, it seems that he thought too much, and then the financial director also stood up and began to report to everyone about the club's financial situation during the just concluded summer transfer window. This summer, because of Chelsea and Paris Saint-Germain, UEFA directly introduced the relevant financial fair play bill. Although Florentino is here, this well-known business tycoon and famous politician in Europe will definitely not cause any trouble to Real Madrid, but in the face of the newly promulgated bill, even as strong as Florentino had to stop any action this summer. So, this summer, after communicating with Ancelotti, in addition to the reorganization of the defense line, Real Madrid only sent out a few players and did not introduce big stars. So this summer window, Real Madrid's finances have not changed much. The situation in this summer window is special, so Mr. Ancelotti is also wronged. Florentino was quite sorry for this. After hearing the chairman's words, Ancelotti was naturally flattered. After all, it is rare to hear such words from Florentino. And the meeting has been going on until now, and all the developments are still quite friendly to Ancelotti, but what happened next completely made Ancelotti's good mood disappear. Next, it was Zidane, the head of youth training and the technical director of the first team, who made a summary. Everything is going well for Castilla at the moment. Especially Real Madrid B, which finished 5th in the B League last season, ahead of Barcelona B. The entire Castilla now has more than 500 young players of all ages, and there are many talented young players among them. The best young player is Li Chu, the midfielder of Villarreal. When everyone heard Li Chu's name, they instantly became interested. That's right, now Li Chu's name can be put on the table for discussion in the high-level meeting room of Real Madrid club. Li Chu of Villarreal. Zidane, is this player's contract still in our hands at Real Madrid? Florentino also asked with great interest about Li Chu. Florentino naturally has more interest at the team level. Perhaps Li Chu is just an excellent player, but in the eyes of a wealthy businessman like Florentino, Li Chu is the stepping stone for Real Madrid to open the Greater China region, a huge market with a population of more than 1 billion. Recently, about the sudden emergence of Li Chu as the chairman of Real Madrid, he naturally heard about it. Originally, Florentino was still thinking about how to convince Ancelotti to introduce this kid to the team during this winter window. Who would have thought, this kid is a family member who walked out of Castilla. Thinking of this, Florentino was also happy, and the technical director on the side also spoke at this time. What is Li's contract like? Is it possible to bring him back during this winter window? Regarding Li Chu's commercial value, Anelka doesn't care at all. What he cares most about is the performance of the first team he is responsible for. Although Real Madrid's performance is still good now, but everyone can see the problems the team is facing now, it's just that due to Florentino's instructions before the meeting, he didn't attack Ancelotti today. This is not a big problem, however. At the beginning of the season, I recommended Li Chu to Mr. Ancelotti, but he refused. In the end, Li Chu left Villarreal. Zidane said here, still a little regretful. Zidane, that's not what I said. You have to know how much pressure I had after taking over Real Madrid. The season hadn't started yet. How could I give a young man a chance? Ancelotti said that I can't take the blame. What about now? During the winter window, we can completely bring Li Chu back to Real Madrid. As a coach, do you agree to this transfer? Hearing Zidane say this, Ancelotti's face suddenly became ugly. Zidane insisted on arranging his apprentice into the locker room. In Ancelotti's view, this was a spy in the locker room. The club doesn't trust him. I don't agree. I think the team's lineup is already quite complete. If Li Chu is added rashly, it will affect the team's performance. I don't have time to give a young man time to run in.